Here you can see a sample of Ben's internal NCR summary that is part of his coaching report. Anytime an individual in the warehouse has an increase in NCRs, whether internal or external, we sit down that month, go over each individual instance, pull all the paperwork, and understand, make sure they understand why they made the mistake and what they could have done to avoid it. So from May to June, you see Ben had an increase, and then from September to October, we have just sat down with Ben and gone over that coaching report. The bottom graph is the total internal NCRs for all drivers. In May was really our first month when we were catching all of our instances. The program had been in place for a while up to that point, but May was the first point where I felt like it was really capturing a full and accurate perspective on all the mistakes we were making. You can see the progress that we've made thus far. On the external side, there are actually 12 possibilities for external NCRs, two of which would affect inventory accuracy are over/under shipments and incorrect parts shipped. And they either pulled too many or not enough, or they pulled from the wrong bin. This was an early and obvious concern of ours, so in March we were capturing good data on this, and you can see early on, and incidentally amongst all the external NCRs, these were our two largest concerns right out of the gate, or our largest causes for external nonconformances. So in March, you can see the numbers were huge, but we've slowly driven them down, so much so that in October we never once had a report from a customer that we shipped the wrong thing, and in over/under shipments we had only documented 2 instances of that. So we have come a long way. In 2007, although we'd been on Commerce Center for several months, we were just not ready to do an accurate cycle count. So our first month of doing cycle counts was in January of 2008. And you can see in that quarter that we came in at about 40% accuracy. In the second quarter, we were above 60%. In the third quarter, we came in at just under 90%. And going forward, or from where we're at now, fourth quarter to date, we're at about 90-91% cycle count accuracy. Of course, that's extremely promising. Cycle counts are done for 2 reasons. One is to assess how accurate your inventory is, and 2, to allow for root cause analysis of those things that are off. Why are they off? What are you doing to fix them? It's extremely important to note that approximately 75% or 3/4 of the adjustments we've had thus far in the fourth quarter, where you can see here we're maintaining 90%, 3/4 of those were off due to previous adjustment errors, which means in a sense we've been kind of stumbling over ourselves correcting adjustments made in the past because of the ugliness of our database, interacting with the BDC, etc., etc. So if you take out self-inflicted wounds, so to speak, if the database were clean and we weren't receiving non-QC'd orders from the BDC, and we could do away with 3/4 of those adjustments so far in the fourth quarter, we would be flirting with 98% accuracy. Going forward, there's a couple important things we need to accomplish in short order. Shuffling the inventory. Getting away from the grouping of product by category that Gulf Coast Torches always had. You can't have a 4K58 next to a 4K58S, next to a 4K58KS, etc., etc. It's begging for trouble. So one of the larger projects we have in the middle of December, when things start to slow down, is to pull a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday and adjust our consumable section, shuffle our consumable section so that parts are truly shuffled, and that a stager or somebody who's staging material has to go to that bin and then can verify the parts. And we're not asking for trouble by having the parts right next to each other, similar parts right next to each other. Many of the processes and things we've implemented to get us to where we're at today have been in congruence with a day's work and a day's mentality, but we haven't really put a name to it. We haven't made that our mantra. And I think from a state of mind standpoint, or from keeping it on the tip of everybody's mind, it will go a long way to do so. So we've had banners printed up, we've put them in the warehouse, and we openly say that we're a day's work and a day's time warehouse. We now do all our invoicing that night. Somebody's assigned to staying late into the night until the final driver's back and executing all the receiving and invoicing. And so we put a name to Dewey at, and I think that's going to be important going forward. Carlos Mejia starts with us December 1st. He was a warehouse manager at OKI Bearing. OKI Bearing is one of our largest suppliers. We see them multiple times a day on our routes. They carry much of the same inventory we have. He came highly respected, and people in our company that have worked at OKI Bearing vouched for him. I know he's familiar with the material, so I'm looking forward to Carlos to joining our team and becoming one of the individuals that can touch the shelf, so we can go from the Fab 4 to the Fab 5. One of our largest suppliers, and a supplier that is coming through the BDC to us, is Thermodyne. And I've asked on multiple occasions to people in the inventory management group, all the way up to Vincent, to come up to help me solve the problem of this integration that we have with BDC. Don't want to receive 2s and 3s of things when I sell hundreds of them. The product knowledge shortcomings, the transfer errors. Is it not possible to just have Thermodyne come direct? That's a bridge we need to cross immediately, and will pay dividends. Also, going forward, it's going to be very important to stay on top of the cycle count research we're doing. For the first time in this final quarter of 2008, we've been doing the thorough root cause analysis of any cycle count adjustments that occurred. I know Todd watches every single item that gets adjusted in or out of Gulf Coast Torch, and subsequently will pepper me with questions about why is this item in, why is this item out. And it's been very informative for all of us to do that root cause analysis and understand why items are being adjusted. And just to circle back, 2 main reasons, 2 big factors. One is integration with the BDC, and 2 is self-imposed adjustments or previous adjustment errors that were done by mistake. We got to stay on top of that. That's something the warehouse understands is critical, and we're learning a lot and uncovering a lot of opportunities through that. Well, that's the brief summary, the 50,000 foot view of inventory accuracy at Gulf Coast Torch. There's of course a lot more to it, but that's the summary. That's the jump off point. A lot of ground to cover from here, but I do see the measurable improvement in cycle counts in the NCR program as being very promising, and I think the people and the processes in place are right and heading in the right direction. But I'm not bold enough to say that we're out of the woods yet. So I'd love for our most capable and experienced people to come down and do an audit of our processes and provide any counsel or recommendations that they can. It does sound like that's already underway, so that's a good thing. Lastly, I've heard the words people problem thrown around in regards to GCTR, and I just wanted to make real clear that I think GCTR has some of the most dedicated and capable people that I've met within DXP. And we've had problems, but what we've had is a management problem, starting with me. Onward from here.